Welcome back to Mystery Decode. Today, we're embarking on our most ambitious journey yet, an exploration of a global connection that shouldn't exist. It's the story of a single Roman coin minted in the heart of Europe that traveled over 9,000 kilometers to the tropical shores of Vietnam. How did it survive the crossing of oceans, the rise and fall of empires, and the passage of nearly 2,000 years? Let's find out. This isn't just about a piece of gold. It's about the very first steps of a truly global economy. To understand the scale of this journey, we have to start with the man who found it. Louis Mallerat was more than just an archaeologist. He was a seeker of lost civilizations in the French colonial administration. In the late 30s, he arrived in Vietnam, fascinated by the rumors of an ancient city buried in the Mekong Delta. The local people spoke of Oc Eo, a place where ancient beads and gold could be found after heavy rains. By 1944, Mallerat had organized a formal excavation. The world was at war, but here, time had stopped. The Mekong Delta is a challenging place to dig. The water and mud can swallow artifacts, preserving them for centuries. Mallerat knew this area was special. It was once the center of Funan, an ancient kingdom that dominated the seas. Then, his trowel hit something hard. A small, round object emerged from the sediment. At first, it looked like a simple bead, but as Mallerat cleaned it in the river water, he realized he was looking at something impossible. A Roman face was looking back at him. It was an aureus, high-purity Roman gold. Specifically, it bore the image of Emperor Antoninus Pius. The inscriptions were clear. This coin had been struck in a Roman mint halfway across the known world. Antoninus Pius ruled Rome at its peaceful peak. His coins were the most trusted currency of the era. The discovery was a shock. How did Roman gold reach the Mekong Delta? Was it a fluke? A single traveler's lost pocket change? Or was it something much more profound? A sign of a massive, ancient global economy we were only just discovering. The coin itself held a clue. It wasn't just money anymore. A small hole had been meticulously drilled through the top. In Funan, this coin had been repurposed. It had been turned into a pendant, a piece of wearable art for the elite. The techniques used to modify the coin show a high level of craftsmanship. It was treated with the utmost respect. To the people of Funan, the face of the Roman emperor was a symbol of pure prestige. It signaled exotic power. Wearing it was a statement. It showed you were connected to the legendary merchants who arrived from the West. To trace this coin's path, we have to travel back to its birth. We start in the 2nd century AD in Rome. The imperial mint was a high-security facility. Here, the wealth of the empire was transformed into propaganda. Every coin was a message. The emperor's face ensured his image reached every corner of his domain. With a single strike, the image of Antoninus Pius was imprinted into the gold. Our coin was born. It was perfect, a piece of the empire's power, destined for a journey no one could have imagined. The empire's appetite for Eastern luxury was so great that it actually threatened the stability of the Roman economy. At the time, the aureus was the gold standard. It was reliable, heavy, and accepted from Britain to the Black Sea. The Senate even tried to pass laws to restrict the use of silk and spices, fearing the massive drain of gold to the east. But Rome had a problem. It was buying more and it was selling. Gold was flowing out of the empire to pay for luxuries. The target of this gold? The exotic East. Rome craved the luxuries that only the Indian Ocean trade could provide. Silk, spices, perfumes, and precious stones. These were the high-value goods that drove the ancient world's economy. Pepper was perhaps the most important. It was known as black gold, and the Romans consumed it in massive quantities. Our coin likely left Rome in the purse of a wealthy grain merchant heading for Egypt, the empire's breadbasket. Ostia was the mouth of Rome. From here, the great grain fleets sailed to keep the capital from starving. The crossing to Alexandria took about 2 weeks. It was the first leg of a much longer, more dangerous journey. At sea, the coin was just one of thousands, but it was moving toward a world that would see it as something mythical. Alexandria was the crown jewel of Egypt, a place where cultures clashed and global commerce thrived. The goods and our coin would travel up the Nile by barge, then across the desert by caravan to the Red Sea ports. In the markets of Alexandria, the coin changed hands again. It was now in the pouch of an international trader. The goods and our coin would travel up the Nile by barge, then across the desert by caravan to the Red Sea ports. Life on the Nile barges was a slow-motion transit of the world's most precious cargo, moving north to south against the current. River travel was the easiest part. The real challenge lay across the scorching sands of the eastern desert. The secret to reaching India was timing. Everything depended on the monsoons. If you missed them, you were stranded for months. The journey through the desert was brutal. Heat, bandits, and thirst were constant threats for the merchants. At night, they rested under the same stars that sailors used to navigate the open ocean. The goal? The Red Sea. They were heading for Berenike, the last outpost of the Roman Empire. Beyond this lay the vast Indian Ocean. The secret to reaching India was timing. Everything depended on the monsoons. If you missed them, you were stranded for months. In July, the winds blew steadily toward the east. It was a fast 40-day dash across the open ocean to India. It was a leap of faith. The Arabian Sea could be an unpredictable monster, claiming many ships and their gold. Life at sea was hard. Food was simple, water was stale, but the coin was moving closer to its destiny. But for those who survived, the reward was great. They reached the fabled Malabar coast of southern India. Muziris was the emporium of India. Romans were here in such numbers that they even built a temple to their gods. Pepper was king. Romans used it in everything, even their desserts, and they were willing to pay in pure gold. The trade was massive. Tons of Roman gold flowed into India every year, creating a new class of wealthy merchants. It wasn't just pepper. Romans traded their gold for semi-precious stones, high-quality steel, and even exotic animals. In India, our coin likely changed hands, but the Indian merchants didn't see it as Roman money. India was the workshop of the ancient world. They took Roman gold and returned items of incredible artistry and value. To them, it was just high-quality bullion. Its value was determined by the scale, not the emperor's face. Because the gold was so pure, these coins were frequently kept as treasures rather than spent. This is where the story changes. In the hands of Indian craftsmen, the coin began its transformation from currency to a sacred or prestigious ornament. The coins were pierced or framed, becoming wearable symbols of the connection to the legendary world of Rome. Some of these treasures moved even further east, carried by Indian merchants, who were colonizing the trade routes of Southeast Asia. The Bay of Bengal was a gateway to the land of gold, a region the Indians called Suvarnabhumi. This region was rich in gold, tin, and exotic woods. It was a magnet for every merchant in the ancient world. The Kra Isthmus was the ultimate shortcut. Instead of sailing thousands of miles around, you hauled your goods across the land. This portage route was a grueling hike, but it saved months of travel. It was a vital link in the maritime Silk Road. Every step was a battle against the terrain, but the profit waiting on the other side made it worth the risk. Our coin, now perhaps a pendant, moved along this route, changing hands between Malay-guided and Indian traders. The ships that carried our coin across the Bay of Bengal were masterpieces of sewn plank technology, flexible enough to survive the monsoon. Finally, it reached the heart of the Funan Kingdom, the first great civilization of the Mekong Delta. Unlike the rigid Roman ships, these vessels could bend with the waves, a design perfectly adapted to the local environment. Funan was a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering. Their cities were built on and around the water. Funan was a watery world. Life was built on the ebb and flow of the river and the wealth of global trade. This was the most connected place in Southeast Asia. Our coin had finally arrived at its destination. The Funanese traded local forest products for the wealth of the world, and Roman gold was the ultimate treasure. This single object is definitive proof of an ancient global network, a precursor to the world we live in today. A powerful Funanese chieftain receiving the Roman coin pendant as a gift from a foreign delegation at a torchlit ceremony. But history is cyclical. The Funan kingdom eventually faded, and its cities were reclaimed by the mud of the Mekong. For 15 centuries, the coin lay undisturbed. The empires that created it and traded it were long gone. It became a part of the earth itself, waiting for the world to change and for someone to find it again. Until that morning in 1944, when Louis Malloret's trowel hit something hard in the mud at Okao. The cleaning of the coin was a moment of profound realization. The ancient world was much smaller than we thought. If you loved this deep dive into history, make sure to like and subscribe. We have many more mysteries to decode together. Malloret's team recorded every find with surgical precision, mapping the exact layer of silt where each coin was found. This single object is definitive proof of an ancient global network, a precursor to the world we live in today. This data allowed future generations to reconstruct the timeline of global trade, proving Funan was at the center of it all. Today, it sits in a museum, a silent witness to a 9,000-kilometer journey through the hands of hundreds of people. His journals are a bridge across time, connecting us to the moment the Roman face first saw the Vietnamese sun again. For those who see it, it sparks a wonder about the bravery of the ancient sailors who carried it across the world. 9,000 kilometers, 2,000 years, one piece of gold. It's a testament to the human spirit of exploration. Every object has a story. Some are just more epic than others. This was the journey of the Roman coin in Vietnam. It reminds us that we have always been connected, and that history is always under our feet, waiting to be decoded. Next time you hold a coin, take a look at the face on it. Think about where it's been and where it might end up. If you loved this deep dive into history, make sure to like and subscribe. We have many more mysteries to decode together. I'm your host, and this has been Mystery Decode. We'll see you on our next incredible journey into the past. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep decoding. Goodbye for now.